Hey guys, how's it going? As you may or may not know, I've been trying to get back into the competitive scene, get back into the competitive circuit, and back to my roots as a competitive fighting game player. And what better way to do so than with a new game? That new game being Dragon Ball FighterZ, or FighterZ as I sometimes call it. The name's kind of confusing. Anyway, let's head online and see how I do. Not so good, apparently. Chala, head chala. This game is pretty radical, thanks to Arxis. Wow, chala, head chala. Android 16 is pretty awesome. So is Goku Black Sparking. Pro tip for life. Whenever you go to karaoke in Japan, always sing Dragon Ball songs. That gets everybody hyped. That and Limp Bizkit or Sailor Moon, but those are not reviews for today. Today we are focusing on Dragon Ball FighterZ for the PlayStation 4. The first thing you notice about Dragon Ball FighterZ is that this game is beautiful to look at. They capture the heart and soul of the show beautifully through the art style here. It looks exactly like the show, and I really love the color palette they used here. I greatly prefer these colorful games as opposed to some of the more washed out games we've seen in recent times. The characters themselves look fantastic, and they look and animate like how they would in the show, and they capture each personality really well. Vegeta is really reckless, and he uses a lot of kicks. Trunks is very refined. Hit is a very refined assassin. Everybody just looks great. Though I will say that adult Gohan looks kind of weird because his mouth is just a bit too close to his nose for my taste. He kind of looks like an anime, not ugly version of Casey Neistat, or however the fuck you say his name. Arxis games have a lot of pizzazz, and FighterZ, or FighterZ, is no different. Pro tip. If you don't have a lot of money for graphics, go for a stylized look. And I'm not saying you need to hire Akira Toriyama, or Bruce Timm, or Shinkiro to do your art, but you know, just have some kind of flair to it. Otherwise your game will look like, well, yeah. There are 24 characters in the base roster of FighterZ, with 8 more on the way as DLC, and I'm sure they're saving some of the good characters as DLC. Yeah. And each character is kind of weirdly similar on the surface. Each character has the same movement options. Each character has only core circle forward and core circle back motions for their special moves. And everyone has the same auto combos and extended combos. So it seems kind of weird at first, but when you dive into each character is very unique from each other, with some similarities of course. Characters like Goku and Cell are very balanced and great for beginners. Characters like Vegeta and Trunks are very aggressive and very pressure based. Characters like Lord Beerus are really great at zoning. You have characters like Piccolo, Hit, and Krillin who are very technical and will take a bit of time to get used to. Then you have characters like Nappa, 16, and Fat Boo who are just in that ass and heavy hitting with big damage. And of course, you have Kid Buu for those players who don't like to take showers. You know who I'm talking about. Even weak characters in the DBZ canon like Nappa, like Yamcha, are a blast to play thanks to the gameplay, which is outstanding in my opinion. Dragon Ball FighterZ is 3-on-3 Imagine 3 action with assist and chain combos, not unlike Marvel vs. Capcom 3. But make no mistake, this is a whole new beast entirely. There's a lot of options for movement with dashes, with homing attacks. When you look at matches, when you look at CPU's play, when you look at high-level players, it can be a lot to take at once, but the game does a really good job of easing you into the systems with stuff like auto combos, with macros. But for those who want to dive into the systems more, you're going to be rewarded with bigger combos, bigger pressure, bigger mix-ups. The name of the game here in Dragon Ball FighterZ is pressure. A lot of the time when you play, you got to keep your opponent locked down and force them into making a mistake, and find out when to hit your button so you can do massive damage and massive corner carry. Punish them. You think you could challenge the Prince of Saiyans? You're a fool! Ha 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 ha! Sorry, my Vegeta impression is not Mondo cool. I will say that you need to be prepared to spend some time in the training mode though. There's a lot of block screens in this game and you have to know when exactly to hit a button, but for those who do have the patience, who have the dedication to learn all the in and outs of each character, they'll be rewarded with, well, big combos like this. Even though each character feels kind of similar, it doesn't have a negative impact in the game unlike say Street Fighter V. With a team game, it's not so much about each individual character, it's more about making a strong cohesive unit. Some of the more popular teams I've been seeing online have been, Goku, Super Saiyan, Blue Goku, Goku Black, Goku after watching Twin Peaks, Cell, Vegetars, and Android 16. Someone please send me some Android 16 tech. And Gotenks. I really like Gotenks. Oh, god damn it. Bodied again. You know what would be really useful for a time like this? The hyperbolic time chamber. In Dragon Ball Z, the hyperbolic time chamber was a place where a minute in the real world would be 6 hours in this place. So you can do a lot of training in the hyperbolic time chamber if you're pressed for time. Unfortunately though, in this reality we don't have a hyperbolic time chamber, but I think I have the next best solution, that thing being Red Bull. It was at EVO Japan, and many pro gamers like Daigo Umehara, they drink Red Bull and then they train and play fighting games. So maybe I'll recreate their success by drinking some Red Bull. So I'll get this in the microphone right here. What a great sound. And now, man, that hits you hard. Anyway, now let's get back to online. While ArcSys games do have a lot of style and have a lot of flair, sometimes they overdo it in the UI, and that's one of the minor problems with Dragon Ball FighterZ. Before you get into a game session, you have to log into a lobby, which is pretty annoying. So if your connection drops or if the lobby goes away, you have to log back into the lobby just to access the offline modes like training or arcade mode. And the ring system can be kind of annoying. Whenever I go into a match, I find myself waiting at a screen more so than playing a game or watching a match. So that's kind of a letdown. However, when I do go into a match in casual or in ranked mode, the netcode has been pretty solid. Some players have been getting disconnects, but on my end, it's been pretty smooth. So be careful there, everybody. By be careful, use wire connections! Also in the main lobby, in the main area where you play around with, you get to choose your own custom character. I'm Wiz. And there's two areas in the game that are not used yet, of the city and the Kame House. Perhaps future DLC. For those of you who aren't interested in competing against people online, there's a fair amount of single player content. I wish there was more to it though. There's an arcade mode which is pretty fun as the loading times are reasonable and it's easy to get into the match, and with there's so many characters, you're going to be going back just messing with characters and different combinations. Though I will say you don't get any character-specific rewards, which is kind of bogus. You do get Zenny, which can be used to get some in-game cosmetics like new colors and new avatars to use in the lobbies. See, games, that's how you do it. If you want loot boxes, make it in-game currency that you can't buy with real-world currency, and when you get duplicates, take those duplicates and put them back into currency. Boom, you have an economy, and no one has to get pissed off. I'm looking at you, EA. The cinematic story was highly touted, and it's kind of a letdown. While it isn't terrible, and it does have some really good writing and some really good interactions with all your favorite characters, it's a bit bloated and a bit repetitive. It'll take you about 15 to 20 hours. I don't know, it just didn't really do anything for me. I think mixing up some of the challenges, or maybe cutting down the length to like 6 or 8 hours would have really benefited this area, but it's there if you want to play it. When a developer puts their heart into a project, the player will know. And the folks at ArcSys grew up with Dragon Ball Z, and they made a game that captures the spirit, look, and soul of the manga and show we and they all grew up with. And thanks to some clever design choices, anyone can get into Dragon Ball FighterZ and find their fun, whether they're a casual anime fan or a hardcore tournament player. Even with the shortcomings, Dragon Ball FighterZ sets a high bar for the rest of 2018 and the year of anime. Woo! I did it! I won! I beat the game! Yes, I'm the best. All thanks to Red Bull. I think I'm going blind in this eye right here. Dragon Ball FighterZ, it's a real solid game. It's a great looking game. It's a game that's a love letter to anime and anime fans and fighting game fans. That said though, it is a bit light on single player content. I did knock Bandai Namco against this on Tekken 7 when I reviewed that last year. And I gotta do it here for Dragon Ball FighterZ because, again, the single player content is pretty lacking. I really wish they added in some more modes like, you know, a survival mode or time trials or just something to kind of spice it up. But as it stands, Dragon Ball FighterZ is a very solid game. It is definitely in the upper echelon for 2018. Dragon Ball FighterZ gets an 8 out of 10. Definitely recommended for fighting game fans and anime fans. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for the year of anime, with games like Attack on Titan 2, One Piece, that open world game, which subtitle I always forget, Hokuto ga Gotoku, and Sword Art Online Fail Bullets. So anyway, I'm going to go back to online, go back to drinking Red Bull, and see you online. Later, everybody. Oh man, this Red Bull stuff is pretty gnarly. I'm doing so good thanks to it. 720, 360s, and then FADC. I win!